then these typical operations. I will not take you to the practical in Linux, but these are things you can do in Linux to see how you retrieve files, how you retrieve one of them, all of them, the next one, and all of that. So, but I want you to read it through just to understand it in theory, how file management works. So this is one of your reading assignments, and to be specific, where I want you to look at is this diagram, which is like summarizing. Here is a user program, and under it, we have now how we do the management of files. We can do it in file form, sequential, in-text sequential, in-text, and hashed. So these are some of the methods we use for file management. I want you to look at each one of them so that you can be able to freely explain them if it is asked in an exam. Where you will have a challenge, now ask me. I will present something to explain some of these file management methods. But in your reading assignment, I want you to read to read these methods, to read these all of these methods of file management. So hope that is very clear. So that was the first assignment I wanted to give. Then the next one, was it lecture number 7? Yes, when you go to our lecture number 7, our lecture number 7 looks at input-output management and disk scheduling. What I would like you to do is to read about the different categories of these devices. There are those which are human readable, like they communicate with the user. We look at them like examples are like printers, video display terminals, the keyboard, the mouse, all of those are what we are calling human readable. Then there are those which are machine readable, whereby they communicate with the machine and they use the machine language, the zeros and ones, which are now converted into electrical signals. And here we are looking at the disk drives, sensors, controllers, actuators. All of those are also input-output devices. And then there are those which are used for communication, whereby they communicate with remote devices. There are those which are used for data transfer differences. They have differences in terms of their data rates. And here the example has been given there. And then they can be used in different applications. I want you to look at that. And then we also look at where the complexity of management comes in. How does the operating system help the user in terms of managing these devices? One of them is in terms of data transfer. Most of them have different units of data transfer. Others are going to have issues with data representation. How is encoding done? And the different encoding schemes. And then how does the operating system manage errors, or when an error has occurred, how does it happen? And then there are differences in these input-output devices. Some of them are programmed, others are interrupt-driven. When we talk about programmed input-output devices, we say they always work in sequential manner, or they always follow a certain process, whereby the process has to be waited for to be completed for the next process to take place. But when we talk about interrupt driven, is whereby an input-output command is going to be issued, or an event is going to occur, which will invoke some other activity to take place, so that this input-output device may respond to that interrupt, or may respond to that invocation of an event. So they are of those two types. And when we are performing this input-output or these activities, there is what we call the direct memory access, whereby the processor doesn't need to be involved, but the input-output device can work directly with the memory, meaning that data can be transferred between the input-output device and the main memory without the intervention of the processor. And it will only be interrupted when the entire block, or when the transfer has already taken place. That is what we mean by direct memory access. And then the other type, or the other technique, would be what we call event driven, whereby an event has to take place, or a command has to be invoked for this event to take place. So the evolution, I will leave you to read about it, whereby how did these things go about their functions initially up to where they are at the moment. This I want you to read until you get to the controller-driven interrupts, up to direct memory access, and looking at the input-output module being a separate processor, whereby it handles its own local memory, and then it transfers the function to the main processor after it has done whatever it needs to do, and then the main processor can take over. So this one I will leave you to it. Just read through about DMA. That is very important. And then the other important function that is all about is how do you manage efficiency? That I will leave you to it. And buffering, look at it. If it has a question, then we can discuss it, but look at buffering in detail, and also look at disk performance parameters, whereby we are looking at seek time, rotational delay. That is, how do you access the disk? Once you access the disk, how do you make sure that you are doing it in the most efficient way? There are two methods of accessing the disk. So I want you to go and read about them. One is what we call inward access, and the other one is what we call outward access. These are reading assignments as we go through these notes. So I want you to go and read about inward access and outward access when you are looking at seek time and also the rotational delay. That is a reading assignment. Please go and read about them so that you understand. If you asked in an exam, are you able to explain what they mean? Are you able to differentiate between the two? And are you also able to understand these two? And they have also been explained there. And then we have issues of access time, which also determines the performance of a particular disk. So all of these, I will leave you to them. Go and look at them. When we are looking at disk scheduling policies, we are looking at first in, first out, priority, last in, first out, shortest service time. All of those, please read, look at them. And when we are looking at the scan, you will see there is C-scan, F-scan, and N-step scan. All of those, I want you to read at them, to look at them in detail, and then look at the RAID technologies. Not so much, but what I have mentioned, direct memory access, scheduling, and disk access. Please read them. So that is what I want you to look at in lecture number 7. Then Yes, signers, I have sent all these notes are available in the vLearning portal. So when you look at them, you will find them. Yes, they are available. Then there was another lecture, which is also labeled as lecture 7 on CPU scheduling. This one here. Mm. So I hope you are able to see this one. When we are talking about CPU scheduling, what exactly do we mean? So it is the work of the operating system again to do scheduling. Who accesses the CPU and at what time and who follows next. That is very important. And that selection process is normally carried out by an appropriate scheduling algorithm. So I want you to look at CPU scheduling and the scheduling algorithms which are there. Now, when we are looking at CPU scheduling, there is a concept we call starvation. And this is a situation whereby the CPU is waiting, or a process waits endlessly for CPU attention, or a process keeps on waiting, but the CPU does not respond to that process. And as a result, the process is starved and may never be completed. So it is like it is designated. Then there is also context switching, whereby the CPU has to switch between one process and another one. So that is also a very important concept. And preemption, whereby a CPU is going to remove or purge a process if it is running in favor of another process. That what we were talking about, swapping in and out of the processor, is what we are calling preemption. During processing, some process which has a higher priority may come. When it comes, that is what we are talking about here. If it is higher, it has a higher priority or smaller execution time, then it may be the current process may be swapped out of the processor so that this other one is put into the processor for those reasons. So that is something I want you to look at. And all of these scheduling algorithms, please look at them properly and be able to understand them. So those ones, I will leave you to them. All of these I want you to look at and how these calculations are normally done so that you may be able to understand them without any challenge. So those are the assignments I am giving. These are reading assignments. And please, on top of that, I want you to look at deadlocks. Now, apart from the partitioning, like I have said, so apart from these things I have mentioned, and on that reading assignment, I would like you now to look at deadlocks. And these ones are in relation to CPU scheduling and memory management, as well as how to prevent them. So that is also a reading assignment I want you to look at. And then what I had said earlier, you look at file allocations. And the allocation algorithms as well. Still, in regard to CPU and CPU scheduling, I want you to review the 5-state process model and how it affects now this scheduling. So those are the things I want you to review very closely. And generally, that is everything I want you to look at, because I've just summarized and I would like you to go and read through, and after that, then you will be good to go. If there is a challenge, I will be available for consultation so that